you please share with us your name, title, and a little bit about your role in education?
Okay, my name is Dalia Fouad. I'm the Director of Learning Solutions in Nahdat Masr Publishing House. And at the same time, I'm an instructor at the Graduate School of Education in the American University in Cairo. I have been a teacher myself, but lately I work on two aspects on developing content and curricula for different areas, not just only in Egypt, also in other countries, and training the teachers on the pedagogical skills that they need for teaching.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Could you tell us a little bit more about your teaching experience before you came to Nahat Misr and started working at the university level?
Okay, I have started working from KG2, from the KGs. So I taught all stages from 4 years old until people 60 years old. I taught in schools, in KGs and middle and high school. And also I taught for adults, English for special purposes and other courses in, for example, business writing and so on. That's for adults in terms of employees in different organizations and people, public at large. So this is how I was used to work as a teacher.
It's
And up to this
wonderful.
moment, by the way, I teach, but I teach English for special purposes.
That's wonderful. What a vast array of experience with a lot of different groups. Make for a very rich conversation today. So our next question is if you could describe a time when student engagement or student achievement has been enhanced by your use of universal design for learning in your instruction.
Yes, that was a long time ago when I used to teach high school. I used to teach them courses of introduction to business. And at that time, I started doing my certification. And that was my first encounter of UDL. And the first time I heard about something called UDL and all the things entailed with the UDL in terms of differentiation and multiple intelligence, all the things that are related to UDL. And I had students at the class at that time where they had different learning abilities. And I used to suffer of how to get to them, although they were very pleasant and they wanted to know, but it seemed that my way or my approach of teaching them was not the right thing. And I remember quite well that one time after a class, taking a class in UDL, and the next day in school, I started using graphic organizers, and at the same time I showed them a video and I said something about this and I made an activity. I tried to apply what I have been learning, and the students were very excited to the extent that several of them came at the end of the class and said that was our best class. So I realized that it's not about me and it's not about them, it's about the way I transfer the information from me to them, and this is the most important. So I like them and they like me, but that's not enough in getting the learning and the teaching done properly.
That sounds like a great experience. I love
Yes,
that
it
you were
was.
able
It
to.
was really. And it was a life changer for me at that moment. I realized that even though I know quite well what I want to tell them and I'm very well prepared and the lesson plan is good or okay in terms of the content, but in terms of the delivery methodology, that has to be diversified.
Yes, I agree. And the idea that you need good relationships with your students, but it's more than that, that you
Yes,
have to
yes,
take the next
exactly.
step.
Yes, exactly.
That's wonderful. So our next question is, what motivated you to incorporate UDL into your instructional practice?
Okay. If I'm talking about my teaching, it was the fact that I had several students with learning disabilities at that time, and that is why I decided that even though some are the disabilities are clear and are vivid to everyone, but some people have learning disabilities that are not clear, and I myself have a learning disability that was not even clear to myself until I started taking and understanding the learning disabilities. I'm not a graphic intelligent person. So that is why I changed from Faculty of Engineering to business, because in the Faculty of Engineering, you have to have this graphics intelligence all the time. And I didn't have it, and I didn't realize that I didn't have it. Now I know that I don't have it. So Google Maps was done for someone like me. So I'm the big beneficiary of Google Maps. So that was the first thing that triggered me. And then I realized that I do not know all the learning difficulties. And some people might have learning difficulties that are not even clear to me. Maybe they're clear to the specialist, but I'm not a specialist. So I realized that I do have to diversify the way I'm teaching and the content delivery in order to make sure that everyone touch base with what I'm saying in their own way. When I started working in developing curriculum and content, I'm not in direct contact with the students. So I cannot modify my way of teaching in order to be able to handle it. I'm not in the class. You're writing content and curriculum for teachers and students you don't know. So I realized that we do have to include UDL because I know that not all the teachers like myself are acquainted with it. And at the same time, the teachers might have students in the class with some problems that they're not aware of and the students themselves are not aware of. So if you would do something like you're doing something to ensure that everything is delivered to everyone at their own pace and at their own mean. So this is why we do it in our work.
Wonderful. I appreciate that personal connection to our own individual struggles, learning and being an
Yes.
adult. Hopefully that makes us all compassionate educators. So I
Yeah.
was hoping you could expand a little bit more because I know that you've led a big initiative at Nod Hemisphere throughout the country of
Mhm.
Egypt around how UDL is incorporated into the curriculum. If you could maybe expand a little bit on what started that process and how it looks now as it's going out to teachers and students.
Yes, what started it is that we are working on curriculums that are delivered to different types of schools in Egypt. And you can have people taking math in Arabic and other people taking math in English, and then the level will be different. So you can differentiate this. But the Arabic language and the religion is taken across the whole country to all types of schools, all types of students, everyone. So when we were developing the content, we had to ensure that this content speaks to each and every single one in the country. And Egypt is a very diversified country, not just the students, but the country itself is diversified. So while we were developing it, we had to put the basis of UDL while we're working. So we had to make sure that there are certain things that should be there and certain things that we cannot mention, not because they are wrong or there's something wrong with it, but because they would not fit a certain category of people or a certain style of people. So that triggered the development of things in a UDL format to make sure that the content is delivered to everyone and everyone feels that this content is speaking to me, not just that, okay, this is a content, but it's not related to me. Because this is the worst thing about any content is that you take it and then you feel, okay, it's good, but it's not reflecting me. So the graphics that we use, the activities that we put inside the books, the curricula itself, the topics, everything we had to make sure that it suits every single personality of student at that age and with their style. So we had to make sure of this. This was very clear in the teacher guide more than in the student book because teachers might miss some parts or they might not understand why we're using this and not using that. So we had to clarify this to the teacher in the beginning in the introduction. We introduced what's UDL and how can you identify people with some difficulties. And at the same time, how can you address all your students inside the class? How can you do this and that? And if you have someone with difficulty and so, what could you do with him or her? And then the activities were diversified inside the book all the time. And every time we do the activity in different formats, we explain in the teacher guide why are we doing this. So this was very important for us.
Yeah, it sounds like making sure that all the teachers have access to information on UDL was
Exactly.
really important.
Exactly, yes. And we had the teacher guide available for everyone. It was not printed, but it's available on the Ministry of Education website for everyone.
And if I recall correctly, you did some follow-ups to the guides. You can tell us a
Yes,
little bit
yes.
about that?
No, yes, we did on an annual basis some enhancements to the student book and the teacher guides based on the trainings that we give to the teachers and the feedback that we get from the teachers and in the trainings. We enhance the content of the student book and the teacher guide.
Sounds like an exciting time to be a teacher in Egypt, getting all of these wonderful up-to-date
We hope it
resources.
continues.
Me too.
Like the USAID, nothing is forever.
Yes. Um, so my next question is, what conditions do you see in Egypt that supported your efforts to use UDL aligned instructional approaches? So
At the time of developing the curriculum, it was the Minister of Education at that time because he was very well educated and very well informative. He was supporting and he encouraged this. That was at the time of developing. So that was an important element.
and then what do you see sort of now that you've moved from development to implementation? Are there any contextual elements that support teachers feeling like empowered to be able to implement new UDL structures?
There is, yes, there's a lot of initiatives done by the Ministry of Education in Egypt, but because Egypt is a very big country with 25 million students, and that's a big number, the efforts are not very clear because whatever you will do will never be enough.
Fair. There are a lot of needs when we're educating so many
Yes, yes,
students.
a lot of needs, yes.
And so, what insights would you like to share with other educators looking to either start using UDL or maybe deepen their understanding and use of UDL?
I would tell them that never feel that your effort is going into vain because the efforts of the teachers, they show one day or another. And our big success is our struggling students, not our clever students. Our clever students are clever, but the struggling students, when you do an effort with a struggling student and then the student does something in the end, this is our real success. So please don't give up on them.
I think this also takes us back to your initial, you learned about UDL one day, and the next day you were able to implement some
Yeah.
strategies. So I just think about maybe it doesn't have to be a full overhaul and changing
No,
everything. You could start
any
small.
small effort will add to the students. Anything you learn, just apply it with your students and never say I won't be able to do it because you will. And
So
one thing is my motto has been my motto all my life: in learning you will teach, and in teaching you will learn. It's the song in Tarazan movie. And this is my motto, really. In learning, you will teach, and in teaching, you will learn. Every time we teach a student, we learn something from our students too that will help us in the second struggling student.
that's a great point. And reflection and co-reflection with our students is so important to really
Exactly, exactly, yes.
absorb their experience. That's
Yes.
wonderful. So, in the idea of kind of starting small, doing something meaningful but right away, what would be your recommendation to a teacher who's going to start with UDL? Maybe where would be a good place to start?
I think the best way to start is to put ourselves in the shoes of the students. If I am a student now, would I love this? Would this be interesting to me, or would this be boring? This helps a little bit, because sometimes when we are teachers, we are so much keen that we transfer all the knowledge that we have to the students, but that might not be very beneficial to them. If we do a small game, a small thing of interest, anything that would make them interested is most important. And then not all my shoes are the same, so not all my students are the same. So what fits for one student might not fit to the other. So we have to put this in mind.
That's a wonderful analogy. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And so looking ahead, what excites you most about continuing to use UDL? And maybe where do you see the field going?
The thing that excites me most is, of course, when you are able to attend to all your students one way or another. It's very difficult, of course, to attend to all students, but at least you have one way or another of attending to them. And I think this needs to be a style of teaching, not just something that you put an effort on. It should be your style of teaching all the time, because we know we are different.
Yes, variation is the norm. We all come in
Yes,
with
yes.
different
And it is
skills and
our
interests.
variation that makes us complete in the end.
Uh, True, and makes us a good community, pulling in everybody's
Yes.
strengths.
Mhm.
Wonderful. Well, is there any last words of wisdom you would like to share?
No, I don't have words of wisdom, unfortunately.
I think your quote was very apropos for today.
Thank you, Tanya. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for sharing about your experience. I appreciate the way you've really embraced variation as the norm and sought to provide a good experience, not only to all the students that you see in person, but to students across Egypt through your curriculum development and all the training. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you, Tanya. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you so much.